operate this city at a savings and provide some savings in taxes to our citizens.
Most of the increase come in debt service?
All of it.
It all did. And I would also remind the council about the cuts we had to make last July. So,
Say again?
the cuts that we had to make due to the LGA cut, and the market value cuts that were made last mid-budget, that were made without any compensation back.
Yeah.
So
I would say staff did perform.
Yeah, thank you.
Staff performed in July. Our operating expenses are at zero, but the increase is due to debt service.
Which is another reason not to borrow any more money.
Yes. But I do believe staff has presented the city with a responsible budget. My opinion.
So
I do believe, hopefully with no fooling around at the state level on LGA, we can make steps to try and make sure that next year we try and hold this thing at zero. It's very hard to simply reduce, especially with the work that's been done around here. Lots of upgrades. I think it's a responsible budget.
I won't be here next year, but I would hope that you can work toward coming in at less than the 774. I mean, that's the levy, but that doesn't mean you have to spend all that money.
if I could just ask for clarification for Councilmember Bunky, what you're saying is budget as is minus another 34,279. So go below the debt service. Take debt service off.
The debt service, same debt service as last year. Basically, you're talking about the same levy.
Right. Okay. So we'd have to chop another 34,3 out of the budget. Which you know, to be honest, we could do that. It's the easy fix for that would be just out of economic development. We take 40 grand in LGA, we could just transfer that elsewhere. That wouldn't affect operations. The EDA fund is fairly flush.
And they're not using it.
And we might have to say no to some things if they were to come up.
But that's their general fund, not their loan fund. They're not really using that.
Correct. That's where we'd have to say no, I think, to some things. That'd be one easier way, I think, to absorb this.
Yeah.
And then if we needed to make some inter year transfers.
I understand that money flows around and that this is a budget, this is a goal. I'm just trying to set the goal a little bit lower so that the citizens know that we're really trying. And that staff, all of staff understands that we need to make a better effort. I don't misunderstand. I appreciate everything that has been done.
Sure.
I just think there can be more. I really do. Many cities are doing the same thing. Some are increasing finally, but they may have already spent 2 years at zero. So they're really at the point where they need to have a small increase. Other cities have projected a bigger increase in September, and then they've cut it. They cut it in half, or they cut it back to zero.
Can we do what Councilman Bunky is proposing responsibly?
Well, certainly, anything can be done.
You take it out of the economic development fund, like I say, they're not using it for anything. They're not buying any property.
think it goes the same as you know, what we talked about in March and April. It's a tool. It's a matter of being able to deliver services, which I think gets to your question, Your
Yeah.
Honor. Which is why I would be hesitant to cut the operational budget. Economic development would be the place that I would start. And then if something came up, we'd have to adjust to that.
Have we heard anything from FEMA about how much money we're gonna get so we can undo the interfund transfers?
Nothing that I would report and say we can hang our hat on it. That's gonna become, now that the levy project is going, that's gonna become job one for me.
I mean, if you were to do what Vern is suggesting, and you unwrap all of those interfund transfers when we get the FEMA money, then if you run into a bind, you can have another interfund transfer
Right.
and make it up next year.
Any thoughts, Kathy?
Well, you know, last year you cut 23,000 before the final, and then we got cut on LGA another 23,000, and then we got market value credit cut another,
Was that
I don't know,
50?
50 something.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's true, Kathy, but that's not what the taxpayers are paying. I mean, the city got cut, and now we're gonna ask the taxpayers to pick that up.
well, no, I
And,
know.
and my taxes on my house went up 11%, and the city isn't getting any of that.
Anymore.
No, the point I was gonna make about that was we managed to survive that. I mean, like it was mentioned before, staff managed to survive those cuts and still provide services. But the levy that's here is just maintaining services, not doing
What about EDA specifically?
much
though?
more. Just EDA alone, if you're not gonna do the, anything with that grant money, then there's not a lot of money, and if you don't have other projects coming up, EDA is about the only fund that could spare it. I mean, general fund, you've already spent down that fund
Right.
balance a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
and I wouldn't wanna play around with our capital improvement money, because most of that money is earmarked for something specific, other piece of equipment, which we could delay, but we're already delaying some of that.
But-
So that would be my recommendation, if you wanted to reduce it by 30,000 or whatever, that would be where it would
Well,
come
we've
from.
many times talked about overtime, restricting overtime, and only allowing overtime at, that's approved. You know, pre-approved.
Right, and I think we've ratcheted it down pretty tight.
But there's still how much overtime budgeted.
Yep. I think we.
It's budgeted.
I think we should
We
always
don't have to
budget it.
spend it.
Yeah.
Well, then let's not budget it and make up our mind. We're not gonna spend it. We're gonna figure out a way. We're gonna figure out a way to live within that labor budget.